Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chum Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news in the space or news in general. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's here in the chat, and then we'll get into this. Mr. Max Voltage, good to see you, buddy. We have all set talking about the turtle that was in my yard. Yes, I have snapping turtles that are like the size of sewer caps. They just come in my yard and they dig holes and bury eggs, and I find baby turtles all over the place. it's insane. But yes, I did make a short of that yesterday. Andrew Masad, what's up, dude? We got Dom G, good to see you. I have Dumpster Fire in the house. Let's see, Mr. Steven Cicero, good to see you, buddy. Kyle Rosa, mining to fill my bags, my favorite name in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Perfect. We have, let's see, Jake, what's up, man? Good to see you. New name, haven't seen you before. Good morning, sir. We have Backwards Miner, Zarkov, Nerd Beast, Lawnmower Man, Shark Farmer. It looks like everybody is awake this morning. It's kind of nice, actually. Market's picking up, people are showing up. It's always good. All right, let's see what we're looking like today. Bitcoin 69,202 bucks. Hell yeah, looks sick. We have Ethereum at 3814. Perfect. This is looking great. Look at this, Max. I sent you a screenshot, by the way. I wanted to make sure you wrote this down today. We got 6.81% up on Caspa. Caspa's in the deep green today, almost 15 cents. Look at that. We got LTC up 0.7. So Max, take note. All right, don't mess around. DJ's not here, I gotta fill in for him. We got 83 bucks in LTC though, looking pretty good. We have ETC went through its fifth inning. It's actually at $29, looking pretty good. I mean, usually we have a small pullback and then it usually shows some appreciation, but we'll have to see, I guess. Solana's 165 bucks. Get XRP at 51 cents. Dogecoin at 16 cents. Link's at $18. Render is still over 10 bucks, which is pretty good. Nothing else really jumping out at me. I guess WIF. What's WIF at? 5. It's at $3.46. Actually, that's pretty good. Up 5.32%. And then NOT over here up 14.52% to 2 cents. A little over 2 cents. ENA also at 97 cents, up 6.24%. Awesome. Let's jump over to Crypto Bubbles. Let's see what we got over here. Biggest winner in the day seems to be NOT, up 16.6%. It says over here. What is this coin? I don't even know what this is. NOT coin. I've never looked into it. Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody hold it? Is it mineable? Probably not. I probably would have heard about it if it was. Let me know if you guys know, because I have no idea. Max Voltage. He told me to bite him. He said, bite me. I love you, Max. Thank you for filling in on Saturday, by the way. Me and the wife actually celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary, so that was pretty cool. We actually had a good time. Went out without the kids for the first time in a while. All right, we have Caspa again up 7% over here on Crypto Bubbles. We got Floki up 12.6%. The biggest loser on the day seems to be this Brett token. It is at 10 cents right now, down 10.2%. We have Sand up 3.8%. Bonk again is up 4.2, looking pretty good. Yeah, nothing really else jumping out at me, guys. Everything looks pretty normal. Actually, you know what? Jasmy's been killing it lately. Has anybody noticed? Jasmy's been like just doing nuts. It's been pumping like every other day. I feel like 3 cents right now, almost 4 cents, or 3.5 cents rather, but it's looking pretty good. Let's see what the biggest winner is on the week. Holy shit, NOT is up to 233% on the week. What is going on in Jasmy? Like I said, it's up 36.5% on the week. Jasmy's been doing really good, kind of crazy. And then Brett, I guess, is up 44% on the week. That's kind of damn, that's interesting. All right, flashbang fear and greed index looking like a 73 over here. Let me just refresh, make sure that's still right. 73 has been pretty consistent the last like week and a half, which is kind of interesting. So gonna have to see what what this week brings. Honestly, this month could be awesome for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. Let's see, check out SMT. All right, Fully Electric, I will appreciate you, and thank you for the best wishes. Game with Smokey Dan said, should we start thinking up names for child number 3? No, God, you're the worst friend. By the way, Mr. Geek of all trades, good morning, sir. All right, over here on CoinGecko, let's see, trending coins. Habibi. Oh my God, these coins, man. Habibi is up today, 41.7%. What is this? What is that? Is that a meme? Is that a meme coin? Please tell me it's a meme coin. It's a cat with a thing. I don't know what they call them. I don't want to be rude, so I don't know what it's called. I'm not going to try to make things up, but anyways, that is a Arab cat. That's what it looks like. We have Gala up to 4 cents, almost 5 cents, 5.1% on the day, and then Vaultcraft is down 6.5. I don't know what any of those tokens are, to be well, I know what Gala is, but the rest of them, no idea. Oh, look, GME, largest gainers, 228%. Wow, that's crazy. GME, that token is pumping, I guess, apparently. Still from I don't even remember that guy's, what's his name, something Kitty or something, I forget his name. I don't know, the guy that pumped the stock market GME way back, and yeah, did it again, or people anticipated a pump and it really wasn't anything to, I guess, scream about. All right, top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We get Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, Lido Staked Ether, USDC, XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano still in 10th place. Toncoin was in 10th place, but it's now in 11th, and it's just behind ADA actually by like 50 million, not even 40 million or so. Jeez, that's gonna be a tight race between those two. I wonder what's gonna happen. I think Cardano has a really good chance, but you know what, somebody I was listening to, oh man, I forget who it was yesterday. I was pressure washing my house and I was listening to somebody. They were talking about all these coins in the top 10 and how Bitcoin is really the only proof of work coin. Oh, with Dogecoin, I guess, too, right? So it's only really those two coins that are proof of work. Everything else is just proof of stake or whatever. Ecosystem, Solana, you know, it's like a stable coin. Like there's only two of them, right? So they were making an argument for Caspa. Why couldn't Caspa get up to the top 10? And it was pretty interesting to say the least. I think Caspa's going to do very well, but we're gonna have to see. Gonna have to see what happens, I guess. Yeah, Toncoin's proof of contract. It's not really, yeah, I mean it's a little bit different, right? So whatever. Moving on, again, we have Chainlink, Polkadot, right? None of these are proof of work. None of them. I mean, Bitcoin Cash is, yeah, but like there's really not that many considering Litecoin. But yeah, anyways, ETC is looking pretty good. I mean, it's having a pullback right now, but I think ETC is going to do well as well. Looking at the 1 year, it's been going up consistently for the most part. And again, 2017, we're looking at about $40, right? And then we had 2021, 160, whatever it was, 167, I think. Yeah, 167. We're down 82%, guys. I think there's going to be a decent gain on ETC. That's just my opinion. I love ETC, to be honest, and I will always mine that on my machines. Let's see, Render. I'm holding Render. Still at over $10, which is pretty good. I think I got in at like 7 again. Kind of pissed though, because I did have it at 2 and it, yeah, rip, because I sold that for an electric bill. That was terrible. All right, moving on to the mining segment of things. You guys know, like, the timestamp this stuff. I want to see what we're looking like today. We got the Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro 21 terahash, still at the top of the charts over here, making $87 a day, almost 88 bucks a day. The KS5 20 terahash unit is making $83.58. Again, these are Caspa miners in profit after 10 cents per kilowatt hour. We have the Ice River KS5M. What is this? This is new. This one's new, isn't it? KS5M, 15 terahash unit, 3,400 watts, making just about 60 bucks a day. We have the KS5L 12 terahash unit making 46.31. The BMKS Max, which is also the same thing as this Dragon Ball miner, KS6, I guess. They both make $39.50 a day. We got the Windminer K9 10.3 terahash making $38.83. Let's just come down a bit. The KS3 8 terahash unit making $28.63 a day. If you guys are buying any Ice River units, my code is working again. I think it's just Chump, if I'm not mistaken. I totally forget, but I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't purchase any of these. I don't think. Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't purchase any of these. I would just buy the coin right now and wait for the next new like miner to come out, if you're gonna do that, you know what I mean? I feel like these have been out too long and they're just gonna get worse and worse. I mean, they're obviously always gonna get worse and worse, but you know what I mean. It just doesn't make much sense to me. The Gold Shell AL blocks, 360 gigahashes over here, making $27.90 a day. This is going down slowly. What's Lithium looking like, actually? Oh, and you know what? Fully electric. What was that coin you told me to look at? Is it SMH? Is that what you said? Damn, $1.53. Man, this coin's getting beat up. Lithium is taking a real shit. Something needs to change here. Something needs to change here. It's either people need to like start holding the coin and not selling it, because clearly people are just mining it and selling the shit out of it. That has to be what's going on. It's either that or actually no, that's definitely what's going on.
There's no way.
There's no way. I don't know. Something needs to happen with lithium, or it's really gonna. This is really gonna be bad for the project for sure. SMT, thank you. SMT. Let me see. Fully electric wanted me to look at this real quick. Oh damn, it's up 4% today. Let's see, 82 cents. Nice. I don't even know what this coin is, to be honest. 1 year. Man, it's done really well, huh? The past year. Damn. It was down to 5 cents. Now it's at 80. It's crazy. All-time high is $1.32. What is this coin? Fully electric. What's it? What does it do? What's it about? You know what? At least it came back. Making a cup and handle right now. A giant, like, when did this come out? 2021? three-year cup and handle. Is that what we're making right now? Interesting. All right, moving on. KS3M 6 terahash unit making $19 a day. Looking pretty good. The L7, you guys know I got this thing down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you guys are looking for hosting and you pay a gross electric bill like me. Totally worth it, in my opinion. I'm making $13.26 a day after 10 cents per kilowatt hour in profits. Again, this is Litecoin and Dogecoin. You get like 85% Dogecoin, so it's a little bit more Doge than Litecoin, but you could always convert it if you wanted to. But this machine, man, for being a 3-year-old machine, it is still killing it. It's number 15. Crazy. So crazy to me. Let's scroll down a bit. We get the KS2 over here. Ice River, this is the Casper Miner, 2 terahash unit, $6.20 a day. We got the Gold Shell KA box. It's also a Casper Miner, the 1.18 terahash unit, making $4.40 a day. Bruh. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. The KS1. Oh my god, the KS1's terrible. It's at $3. $3 a day. Damn. That's awful. That's awful. Yeah, the L7's a tank. Crypto Craig. Crypto Craig. Why are you not a moderator? Yeah, add you. There you go. You're a moderator now. Thank you, Crypto Craig, for being here. All right, Ice River. Caspa KS0 Pro. These are the things I got on solar. 67 cents a day if I was paying 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So you guys know I'm making like $1 a day on these things. I only am running 2 of them consistently just because it's getting hot out and I'm running the exhaust fan. And honestly, I got to rip apart my entire solar setup either today or in the next couple days and do a video on it, just kind of converting the setup I have now to exhaust inside the trailer instead of running really any miners. To be honest, I'll probably temporarily run the miners that I'm running now, and then when the new setup comes, I'll completely convert it, so there won't be any miners on this current setup, which is gonna be neat. I'm happy to have exhaust fans actually running again, because it gets too hot sometimes in there. No worries, man. Crypto Craig, no worries, buddy. No worries at all. You're awesome, dude. Appreciate you always being here. All right, where's the S19K Pro? Oh snap, look at that. I'm making 2 cents a day. 120 terahash unit. Again, I got this thing down at Terra Hosting. 2760 for watts apparently, and this thing is making 2 cents a day. I will pay myself back in 5,100 months. It's better than it's saying never. It's better than never. Listen, I'm hoping that when Bitcoin goes over 100K, this thing sells for like 10 grand, because I'm gonna sell it. I don't care. Timmy, it's all yours. It's all yours. Come get it. All right, GPUs. Move on to GPUs. See what we're looking like over here. Most profitable coins to mine on GPU seems to be Ironfish and Whosat again over here. Dual mining that. Graham also. Graham, how's Graham doing actually? Is that it? I don't know why the logo's not blue. It's supposed to be blue. Anyways, it's down on the day actually to 1 cent. Yeah, I'm not really into this whole like Telegram or Gram or Ton or any of that Telegram ecosystem BS. It's just not for me. We have Cortex over here on the 4080, Ironfish itself on the 170HX, Xano, Zealous over here. Actually, Zealous has been pretty profitable on GPUs actually. I've been mining it and just selling it right to Litecoin. I've just been mining it directly to Trade Ogre because it's so easy versus trying to get a wallet for it. So that's what I've been doing personally. If you guys are, yeah, I don't know. It seems like the price is going down quite a bit though. Let's just see that actually. Been going down heavily, probably because everyone's just been mining it and selling it. Same thing. Over the past, actually, it was making a shit ton. It was making a lot a couple weeks ago. Now it's down pretty brutal, but $22. Actually, you know what? Honestly, if I could still make one a day, one Zealous a day, I'm still, I mean, I'm happy about that, right? I'm still making $5 a day on my GPU, so I can't really complain. Let's scroll down a little bit. Dynex in the 3090 Ti. What is going on with Dynex? Man, I gotta update myself real bad. I haven't looked at any of these coins. Oh wow, Dynex 24. It was down. It was worse than this. I mean, Hadouken to the 24% up on the day, but how much? What? It was down at 40 cents. Oh my god, what is happening to Dynex? What is happening? Is anybody mining this anymore? What's going on, man? Dynex needs to do something. I honestly, I like the project. I think it's gonna do great, but like, man, I don't know what's up with the price. It's crazy. Floor over here also on 3090 Ti. We got Conflux and Husat as well. You can dual mine those. Interesting. That's a weird combination. That's really weird. Ravencoin and the Radeon 7. Again, Zealous on a 3070 Ti laptop. Please don't mine your laptops. This is stupid. Not smart. That is not smart. The 4000, A4000 rather. Zealous, Cortex, and then we got Graham as well. Interesting. Everything looks pretty good. Furo is still a thing. What the hell is the AMD BC160 and why does it say eBay? What is that? Oh, I didn't even realize it was ads underneath all of these. What the hell? Anyways, what the hell is the AMD BC160? I don't think I've ever seen that. Interesting. All right, moving on to mining pool stats.stream. Let's see what we got over here for new coins, if we have any. Cobra Dag is still top of the charts, 5 days old or so. This I think they were getting listed on an exchange, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, just be careful with all these coins, guys. I mean, they're new, they gotta prove themselves, at least in my opinion. All right, Ethereum Classic over here. This is the upcoming events. Ethereum Classic actually just went through again their 5th inning 3 days ago, which is pretty awesome. So that's that from 2.56 to 2.048. We have Gold Cash, which is coming up in 11 days. It's going through halving, 0.25 to 0.125. We have CAU going through its hard fork or its hydro fork 20 days from now. And Pepe Coin, question is like, why? I don't understand this. Block reward reduced from 500,000 to 250,000. I didn't even know this was proof of work. Can you mine this besides like on unmineable? Didn't even know. Does anybody know? Please let me know. Please let me know. So I'm quite confused. We were thinking about this in the VIP chat the other day, or the HODL gang chat rather. We were kind of talking about it, like what is going on. It's not the real Pepe. It's not. Daddy chill, really? Did they mess up Pepe Pow? Is it really? Interesting. So that's supposed to be Pepe Pow. They just put the wrong. That's strange. I don't know. All right, they're all scam coins. I'm staying away from it. All right, let's move on to the news. We have a couple things. So this is like 2 days ago. I want to catch up. I haven't watched anything this weekend, to be honest. So financial advisors still not cozying up to crypto despite the Bitcoin ETFs. Let's see what they got to say over here on CNBC television. Guys, hit that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Meantime, it's been about 6 months since the launch of those long-awaited Bitcoin ETFs. And while some are hailing it as the most successful ETF launch in history, some financial advisors are not yet feeling the crypto captivation. Our markets and crypto investing reporter Tanea McKeel's here detailing the finding in a new CNBC.com article. What is the lead, Tanea?
You know, Bitcoin ETFs are not winning the hearts and minds of financial advisors, and that's pretty notable because one of the biggest cases for the Bitcoin ETFs was that advisors, either advisors or their clients, wanted to be making these Bitcoin allocations, but they did not have an appropriate regulated vehicle through which to do that. If I spoke to many advisors who did have many very young, tech-forward clients who were already interested in crypto before these ETFs came out. But most of the advisors I talked to, say that they are still not interested in them, and they kind of never were in the first place.
Is it possible that some of the advisors' clients might have IBIT or some other crypto bet somehow, but just don't want to admit it?
Certainly.
Or have their own Coinbase account and are hard at work on their own.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked to many advisors who said, we have clients who are interested in crypto and they have a Coinbase account, and because they do and they're kind of sophisticated already, they don't really need these Bitcoin ETFs. There is a lot of detail. We can take it wherever you want, but it really comes down to time in the market and regulatory compliance. A lot of these advisors said that they wanted to see more of a track record. So for some people, that was 3 years. For some people, that was more than 15 years. And there still seems to be a lot of risk associated with, events like FTX and all the way back to 2014 Mt. Gox. A lot of fear of that.
That said, we did sort of frame.
They want a track record of 3 years to 15 years. You're going to be left in the dust, Timmy. You can stay back there. I'm not waiting.
Name it as a successful
insane.
launch overall. You're on board with that school of thought?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at the flows coming in, it's definitely been successful. It is coming from a lot of institutions, large funds, pensions, but it's a little murkier at, the retail investor level for those people who are working with advisors. Advisors cite a lot of issues around compliance. So maybe people are interested, or they even are interested in making those allocations, but then broker-dealers either don't allow them to do so, or they do allow them to do so, but only to a certain extent, and that's kind of different for everybody. So it's still not clear, and even the ones that do, everyone's kind of afraid of getting hit with FINRA fines or lawsuits. So it goes all the way up. So it is a regulated vehicle, but it's still not regulated enough for most advisors.
Interesting. All right. Anyways, it should be, I don't know. That's crazy. That's really crazy to me. Anyways, here we go. Moving on. There is a more politicized issue right now in America than digital assets. Let's see what they got to say over here again on CNBC television.
Our next guest joins us from CoinDesk Consensus in Austin, a crypto, blockchain, and Web3 conference where guests include Kathy Wood and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They're due to speak later today. Here is Tom Farley, the CEO of Bullish, the company that owns CoinDesk. Tom is also former president, of course, of the New York Stock Exchange, a longtime guest on Squawk, occasionally guest host as well. Tom, it's nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you. I've missed you all. I woke up a little bit late this morning. I flipped on CNBC, and you and Joe were fighting. I knew I was in the right place. It's a hot setup there.
So welcome to the show. Help us understand.
Andrew's face. Oh, I gotta rewind that. That was great. He was like, please shut up. Please stop saying that. Oh my God, that's a riot. That's great. Mr. Caw Valley Crypto, thank you for becoming a Hollow Gang member. You're awesome.
Nice to see you. I've missed you all. I woke up a little bit late this morning. I flipped on CNBC, and you and Joe were fighting. I knew I was in the right place.
He's like, God damn it.
It's a hot setup there.
Welcome to the show. Help us understand what kind of fighting or not is happening down in Austin.
Oh, that's so funny.
And what the conversation is. I would have thought it would be crypto, but I imagine this morning it might be crypto with a twist of guilty.
There's so much going
on. He's so thrown off right now. That's great. That is great.
So I'm down here at the Consensus Conference. There's 20,000 people. And, we were on our way to kind of a normal conference. And the month of May has just been nuts. A month of a decade of policy in the digital asset space has transpired in the month of May. And then I was with RFK Jr. yesterday when that news came out. And it was surreal. I mean, it was standing room only to hear what he had to say. I was backstage with him. You could tell he wasn't really all that excited to talk about it. His comments, you've seen a summary of his comments, but his kind of view was, who cares? This isn't an important issue for the American public, and feels like just a continuation of the culture war. Let's move past it. But yeah, it was a nutty day yesterday.
Tom, how much do you think that crypto, oddly enough, feels like it has become politicized? The guest you just mentioned has come out in favor of crypto, has said, if you vote for me, I'm going to be a proponent of crypto. You recently started to hear a similar kind of argument from former President Trump. I'm I don't know where the Democrats, I mean, I don't think the Democrats have been as vociferous about it, but then you have a whole bunch of, frankly, Democrats in crypto who are some of the most prominent people in the business. So it's very hard to try to understand how you think politics and crypto relate. Obviously, regulation is in the middle of that.
I could not have predicted.
Wasn't there a poll that they had the other day saying that, like, if you were against crypto and a candidate, you would, like, or if you were for crypto, you would get more votes or whatever from people? I forget where I heard it. I think it was a news station. They said they had a poll, and there was, like, you know, X amount of people said that they would vote for somebody that was for crypto versus against crypto when it comes to the election, regardless of who it is, which was kind of interesting, right? Because if you're not adopting crypto at this point, you're screwed. Like, as a candidate, you're screwed.
Predicted this, Andrew,
You're
but
just
I'm not
votes.
sure there's a more politicized issue right now in America than digital assets. Like, let's go back through the month of May. May 8th, the administration comes out and says, we're going to veto a relatively benign bipartisan bill working its way through Congress. President Trump sees that on May 11th and says, there's a place for crypto in my administration. The 85, 90 million Americans that own crypto look at that and say, well, that seems reasonable. The administration, the Democratic Party realizes, oh, geez, maybe we're on the wrong side of politics. They then say, we won't veto an additional bill that's working its way through the House and ultimately passes the House. President Trump then doubles down, says, not only is there a home for crypto, I want to support it. I want it to develop here in America because I want to support interesting new technologies in this country. Then the administration looks at it and says, well, we have to do something. The Ethereum ETF gets approved also in May. And if you're keeping score at home, and I know this is a dizzying amount of developments, ETH, many years ago, the SEC came out and said, not a security. For the last couple of years, the SEC has been treating it as a security. Last week, by approving this ETH ETF, definitively is saying once and for all, not a security. So you basically have both parties realizing you have a large electorate, right, mostly male, many non-white, disproportionately non-white, who are interested in digital assets, interested in seeing develop. And so both parties are saying, what can we do to be helpful? It certainly all started with May 11th at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump saying, hey, there's a place here in my administration.
Hey, Tom, I have a different question because I've heard the figure that you mentioned bandied about a lot, and it's never made sense to me. Maybe you can make more sense of it. Maybe you know the provenance of it. This figure that 90 million Americans own crypto. If you think about it, there are only about 200 million Americans over the age, I believe, of 18 years old in this country, which would mean that physically half of them, including people who are much, much older, and if you think about the curve in terms of retirees, that they all own crypto. I ask taxi drivers quite regularly and just people on the street whether they own crypto, and I will tell you it is not typically that half of them say that they own crypto at all. So I've never understood where that figure comes from.
Well, first of all, the estimates are all over the map. I've seen 70, I've seen 85, I've seen 93. People will put their names to it. They have entire buildups of exactly what it is. Andrew, if it's wrong by 5x, shouldn't we support a great new technology in this country, especially because it's a very motivated group of people who care deeply about digital assets. But just punch into your Google machine right there, Andrew, you'll see a number of studies that come up that broadly put the number between 70 and 95 million in terms of individual. I've
seen the studies. That's what by the way, I
haven't done this study. If you're asking me to measure the
70 to 95 million people, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot. What is there, 7 billion people in the world?
Veracity of study, I look at them all and I weigh the ones that have a high number, a low number, and I gave you an estimate here on air without having a big note set at the bottom of my comment.
Right. What is your sense? We do debate ETH and whether we think that is going to be an approved security effectively at some point soon in terms of an ETF or the like. How do you handicap that situation? Obviously, the last time we went down this road, it required a lawsuit for the SEC effectively to capitulate. You think that the SEC is going to capitulate on its own this time?
Yes.
It's a one-word answer. Okay, why?
Yes.
It's just, in my mind, there's no ambiguity. it's going to be approved. It's going to be approved soon. It's generally very well received. All the signals are there.
It's already approved, though.
Honestly, I'm handicapping it at 99-1.
Interesting. Well, that's yeah, shout out to that guy. That was hysterical. That guy made me laugh at the beginning. All right, let's see what they got to see. This is the consensus interviews. There's actually 3 of them. I don't know if we're going to listen to all of them. Let's just see what this Kraken one. I like to listen to Kraken and see where their heads are at. So this is the chief legal officer. The SEC's suit against crypto exchanges never should have been brought. Let's see what he's got to say over here at consensus.
So much to cover, from a lot of the legislation that's winding its way through Congress to what seems like a softening stance from the SEC. And I do want to start there with the commission. A lot of moves in your case recently. I think the most recent filing was to, again, try to dismiss the case altogether ahead of your hearing on June 12th. How are you feeling about the status of all that?
Look, this is a case that never should have been brought. It was about 1 year ago I testified on behalf of my client, Kraken, that the SEC would have to share the jurisdiction it was claiming over crypto with other federal agencies, like the CFTC. We don't think they like that, because exactly 1 day later, almost down to the hour, we got the call saying they were going to sue us. We don't think this is a case that ever should have been brought, and as a result, we're moving to dismiss it.
You know what? Didn't they already had to pay like $300 million in fines or some shit, didn't they? What happens with that? Do they get the money back? Probably not, right? But like, they should. If it's not like anything that could have been sued over, it's ridiculous. They should get their money back. That's crazy.
We put in our moving papers a little while back. The SEC responded. We had one last chance to reply. Now the case is fully briefed. So in a few weeks, we'll go in front of the judge of the Northern District of California, and we'll make our oral arguments. We'll actually argue before the court the same things we argued in our moving papers. The SEC will have a chance to rebut. And there will be a live argument, just like there was in Coinbase, just like there was in Binance. They're similar cases.
How confident?
I think they're gonna do. I would absolutely countersue, because that's crazy. Like, I paid $300 million to get you guys to leave us alone. Okay, we're wrong. Here's the money, and then you come and sue us again, anyways.
Are you that the judge would dismiss the case?
Look, judges are reluctant to dismiss cases at the early stages, particularly when they're brought by the government. We have a lot of faith in our government usually. We don't think this is a case that ever should have been brought. This is a case that is more politics than it is policy. We'd like to think the court's going to see that as well.
Now, you mentioned Coinbase also dealing with its own legal battle with the SEC. Part of their argument has been, they listed, they went public, they jumped through all of the hoops necessary with the SEC in order to do that, and now being accused of operating an unregistered securities exchange seems to be a contradiction of all the due diligence that went through the listing process. And I guess my broad question to you is, are you talking to any of the other exchanges as you all fight similar battles with the commission?
I'm going to bump this up a little.
Yes, short answer is yes, we are. I wouldn't say we're coordinating or anything like that, but we have to know what's going on in those other cases. The country has to know what's going on in those other cases. So what you'll see is that the Coinbase case is a superset of our case. So there are more issues at issue in the Coinbase case than there are in our case. The SEC is suing Coinbase for example, staking, for their staking program. They're not suing us because we settled our claims with the SEC on staking.
Oh, so they're getting sued over something else. What are they suing them over? What's the whole thing about? That's ridiculous.
The Coinbase case is a little bit farther ahead than ours is, just procedurally speaking. So we expect that their case will enter discovery very soon. It probably is. Actually, they're starting to see discovery papers moving. Our case, we hope it never gets there if we're able to dismiss it at this early stage, but that would be the next step if the case continues.
Sticking with the SEC for a minute, a lot of people were very surprised by the decision last week by the SEC to make this rules change that paves the way for spot Ether ETFs. It seemed to be
they're suing them over allegations it's operating as an unregistered exchange broker and clearinghouse. Interesting.
This total about face by the agency.
Oh wait, they couldn't register. Wasn't there like no guideline? That's so stupid.
Were you surprised, and do you think that this speaks to a larger trend of the regulators softening its stance on crypto more broadly?
I got to tell you, I've been doing this for over a decade. I've been advising innovators and entrepreneurs in crypto since before it was crypto, since it was just Bitcoin. And for over a decade, I wake up surprised every morning. There's nothing that doesn't surprise me about this. Nobody knew, except for probably a select few in the building at the SEC. And maybe they didn't even know a few days before whether that was going to get approved or not. It was approved. We are very likely now to see an eDTF. I think it does signal a shift in DC. The industry and the ecosystem and the community of users have all been fighting a long fight on the Hill, at the agencies, to get the recognition that this technology deserves. The last few months have been a meaningful shift in that. There's Washington, D.C. can swallow up more effort than any town on the planet. And make no mistake, there has been a ton of effort poured in to that town by those who believe that we can build a better financial system. And it's been happening over the course of years. But then in the course of weeks, we saw this dramatic shift. We've seen the Biden administration start to think really hard about reaching back across the aisle and supporting the nonpartisan movement that's going on in Congress to support this industry and to support this ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean,
Scott Sheffield, I bumped it up to 1.2. That's why I was just talking a little fast, just to get through it a little quicker. Crypto King said, so Crow is cleared from staking, but Coinbase isn't. This is a circus now. Yeah, it's so stupid. I don't know what's going to happen on crypto.com, but I don't know how they haven't got sued yet.
it was SAB 121 a
Makes
couple weeks
sense
ago. We saw
at
more
all.
than 20 Dems join the coalition in favor of that. More recently, we Fit 21 that passed the House last week. I think it was north of 70 Democrats that were on board. It does, I mean, it certainly, from my perspective, seems to be this shifting tide of pro-crypto legislation. You yourself, and you had mentioned this earlier, testified, I believe, before a House subcommittee. You've been an active voice in terms of requesting that hard and fast rules be set by Congress. So, I mean, talk to me. How do you feel things are going in D.C. right now?
Yeah, I think that things are going better than they ever have gone. We've been part of this conversation for a very long time at Kraken. I've been at Kraken for 4 years, but Kraken's been involved in the discussion since well before that. Fit 21 is a piece of legislation that we support. And we were pleased to see we were pleased to see that kind of support in Congress that you described. But in particular, we were pleased to see the recognition that crypto is a nonpartisan issue. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. You can look around at this conference, right? You don't see any red versus blue. What you see are jobs, efficiencies, saving money, saving time for ordinary people. That's why I got into this over a decade ago. That's why you're seeing new people get into this. And look, there's always going to be those who want to get rich quick. There's always going to be scammers, right? Any new technology will inevitably attract that. But at the core of this is something very different. At the core is efficiency. And that is not a Democrat thing. That's not a Republican thing. And that's, I think, why you're starting to see the likes of Nancy Pelosi not just vote in favor of Fit 21, but be one of the first, if not the first votes in favor. This is not about Democrats versus Republicans, and both sides of the aisle are starting to recognize that.
Now, you're part of a group of firms that are pooling money together for crypto PACs, supporting candidates that express pro-digital asset views. Tell me how that's going.
Yeah, we sure are. I have been personally, some of our executives have been personally for a long time. What we're starting to see now is that focus, that sophistication of being able to really make good on this promise that we've had of being single-issue voters and single-issue donors in this case. Kraken is not a bunch of Democrats. Kraken is not a bunch of Republicans. The client is a single-issue contributor to policy. We contribute, we support, we advocate in favor of crypto. And we do that with Democrats. We do that with Republicans. We were really pleased to see one of the candidates from a major party, Donald Trump, endorse crypto, signal open-mindedness to technology, open-mindedness to the industry. We shouldn't credit that one moment with too much, but there's no question that shook the table for a lot of people who were kind of just sitting at the table, right? It shook some people awake that we're really pleased to see.
Do you think this is the year that we catch up with jurisdictions with respect to establishing a crypto framework? I'm thinking of MiCA in Europe. I'm thinking about Singapore and Hong Kong and the UAE being years ahead of us in terms of setting hard and fast rules. How optimistic are you that by the end of this year we'll see some of this legislation get signed into law?
Yeah.
We have to. If we don't get it done by this year, we're screwed.
It's a fantastic question, right? In Europe, you see the markets and cryptocurrency assets rule charge ahead. They were light years ahead of us on this, and as a result, we're seeing American companies, American innovators, American entrepreneurs move offshore. Now, we are committed to the U.S. market. Kraken has made that public. But I got to tell you, it's tough to deploy capital here. It's tough to employ people. It's tough to plan for product rollouts without certainty. Europe, I don't know how they beat us on this, I kind of do, and I could spend a little bit of time on it, but they beat us on this. Europe was faster to market, they were faster to create rules of the road, and as a result, the US is language. And we have permitted regulators to play political football with a policy issue that holds, as you can see, jobs, livelihoods in the balance. It's disappointing to see how far behind we've fallen in this. I'm an American, you can tell by my accent, this is where I'm from. I want to see things done right here. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Singapore, even the UK is showing signs of leapfrogging us on these issues. I don't think all is lost. I think that we've seen the momentum that we want to see. I wish we could have seen it a while ago, but we're seeing that momentum now. I think we're headed in the right direction. So all eyes will be on the Senate now. There are a couple of efforts in the Senate that we think are going to work very well, and that's the future that we have ahead of us.
Last question.
Max said we don't have enough time left in the congressional calendar. He said it's not getting done this year. Interesting. It's going to be a real shame if it doesn't get done this year.
At this exact same conference last year, I spoke to your counterpart at Coinbase, Paul Grewal, and they were in the thick of dealing with the Wells notice that turned into the formal lawsuit. I know that you guys are undergoing a similar battle, but the environment, the atmosphere just seems to be different this year. And even though these legal fights are still going on and these bankruptcies are still being resolved, which is at the opposite end of the crypto ecosystem, I do feel like there's more positive momentum than there was last year. Is that purely a product of pricing? Is it the fact that spot Bitcoin ETFs have really changed the calculus for the sector more broadly? Or how do you feel about the industry?
I don't know. I know what you can see here. I know what I can see here. I don't know what the cameras can see. But all these people have been pushing and pushing and pushing to have their voices heard. And eventually, that dam breaks. And that's what you're seeing happen. This is a grassroots movement. This is people having their voices heard. And yes, it's starting to work. Things have changed.
Interesting. All right, shout out to CNBC for that. Let's move on. Spot Bitcoin ETF approvals. Huge game changer for the industry. Bitwise CCO. Let's see what they got to say over here. Again, this is at consensus as well.
So I think the big news of the year for crypto, outside of the all-time highs that we saw
bump it
in
up
March,
again.
are the launch of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Really, it's just been met with these blockbuster flows, a lot of institutions coming into the space. How are you feeling about BitBee's revenue so far?
Feeling good. I think, like you said, it was a huge success across the board for all of the issuers. And leading up to that, it felt very slow for the 5 years we were working on it. And then suddenly it was very fast towards the end to get over the hump and get to an actual approval of these products. And I think it's been a huge game changer for the industry to show institutions coming in, to show that these products work. Right? Like, we worked on them for so long from a research standpoint. Bitwise at heart is a research company. That is our core, and that's what we spent so many years working with the regulators to really just show them, look, here's our research, here's how this product would work, here's why it's going to be okay, here's how it's worked outside the United States successfully for many years. And that was a back and forth process, and it's actually a process you want. We could have used it being a little shorter from our perspective, but it's a process you want. You do want the regulator poking and prodding and making sure that this isn't going to be, have a bad impact on the market. And as we saw, taking the academic and the research side to actuality of post-launch, they've been a screaming success. And the fact of having a number of issuers come out at once was really beneficial for the pricing for the ultimate investor, because it put some competition out there, which was a very different story from when the Bitcoin futures launched, where it was really a king-making situation because there was one issuer at that point who still has the lion's share of the assets. So it creates a very different scenario to allow for a number of issuers to come out of the gate at the same time, which was the scenario for the spot Bitcoin ETFs.
And collectively, there are $58 billion worth of assets under management across all the spot Bitcoin ETFs. The latest figures that I saw for Bitwise, $2.4 billion, so around 5% of the total market. You guys have a competitive fee right now. What's the plan to try to capture more of the market, or do you think that you're pacing exactly as you wanted to at this point?
I think we're going to stay the course at this juncture. I can't talk too much about our own product, unfortunately, but we're really happy with where we are, and we're also really happy about staying the course as the crypto specialist. And so much of that is actually somewhat behind the scenes, really, in terms of the relationships, the agreements, the ability to trade, to keep spreads tight. All of that inures to the benefit of the ultimate investor. So I think some of that behind the scenes that we benefit from, having been in the crypto market for so long, is having that expertise in how to trade the product and keep those spreads tight, things of that nature that is so important for getting the best market for the ultimate investor and keeping it in a good margin.
Now, last week, the SEC approved a rules change that would essentially pave the way for spot Ether ETFs. Were you surprised by that decision?
We were pretty surprised. This is public information. We're one of the would-be issuers of a spot ETH product, and it had been many months of silence. There were no signs of life out in the ether, no pun intended. So the thought was that we were leading towards a disapproval order, and we were getting ready. We were looking forward, actually, to seeing that disapproval order to see, okay, well, what are the bona fides behind it? And then as a research organization, what can we do to help get the regulator comfortable? So we were very surprised to see the shift go and come over towards getting an approval order for those 19B4s.
Aside from the silent period that you mentioned preceding that decision, have you been having productive conversations with the SEC? What did that interaction look like?
Yeah, I mean, from Bitwise's perspective, we've had over the years a number of very productive conversations with the SEC. As they're learning about different products, they want to know. The SEC invites members of the industry to come in and say, hey, we're thinking about this product. So you can have that academic discussion and see, okay, well, what would be the hurdles? What would be the concerns? So over the years, including prior to the spot Bitcoin launch, we've had a back and forth with research information that we provided, step function in response to different questions that the SEC raised over incremental time periods about concerns and how we would address their concerns about potential fraud manipulation in the market. So we would provide our research, they would look through the research, we would respond with additional research. And so it's a very productive ongoing dialogue with regard to the research. In fact, actually, in the approval orders from last week, the Bitwise research is specifically called out, which was nice to see.
So many of the industry have said, please legislate, give us hard and fast rules so that we know how to operate within a set regulatory framework. To that end, we've seen more progress this year. So I'm thinking of FIT 21 passing the House. I'm thinking about stablecoin legislation from both the House and the Senate, seeming to be getting a lot more support than past bills that have failed to make it out of Congress. On top of all of that, you've also got Congress passing a rollback of crypto accounting rules that were implemented by the SEC. How optimistic, though, are you that these things will pass before this session ends at the end of the year?
Well, SAB 121 was that repeal went through, so we'll see exactly what happens with the Biden administration on that front. So that's a huge win, and that was like the first foot in the water. But we are seeing a sea change with the receptivity of the Biden administration towards at least embracing and having better dialogue with the crypto industry, as opposed to what the Biden administration has done before, which was really just rely upon the SEC to control the agenda there. So you're seeing the Biden administration step in response to the noise on the campaign trail with Trump making positive statements about crypto. So this is great. It's now become, surprisingly, an issue in the campaign because Trump has come out as pro-crypto and is backing that up with some good facts and forward motion. In response, you're seeing a softening in the Biden administration to receptivity to talking about crypto. The Biden administration didn't come out and say back FIT 21, but they didn't come out with as strong an opposition to FIT 21 as they did with the SAB 121 repeal, where they came out with a pre-veto stance. So you're seeing just in a very short time period, a steep decline in the vehemence of the Biden administration against being anti-crypto. So all of that is great. To your shorter question about whether we see anything happen this year on FIT 21, I don't think, unfortunately, we'll see anything with FIT 21 this year. But that's just quite simply because we're running out of time in the congressional calendar, and we are in a presidential election year, which shortens it more than is ordinarily the case. However, just the fact of FIT 21 passing on the House floor, a bipartisan passage, and the number of folks that brought a yes vote for it is tremendous progress. And that in and of itself is definitely something that we look forward to, taking that momentum and working towards getting better market structure, because it needs to happen. And it's been far too long that we've had it. We've just gone through waves of time, right? First was the time period of the complete ignoring of crypto. Maybe it'll go away. If we ignore it, we're not putting a stamp of approval on it. To the middle period of a lot of enforcement actions, which you do need some of that, of course, because there's always going to be a need for enforcement actions. But with too much enforcement actions against parties that may not necessarily be in the wrong, then you're creating a situation where businesses are afraid to jump in, and you do stifle innovation. So we need the just right amount of enforcement and against the right parties. So that was that middle period. Now I'm hoping we're coming out of that middle period of too much enforcement and not enough rules and regulations, and more, let's think about it. Let's roll up our sleeves and actually come up with some foundational definitions, instructions, jurisdictional lines between the SEC and CFTC, and that will really help with making sure that businesses know the rules of the road.
So you mentioned the fact that, in the end, Biden didn't veto SAB 121. We saw that go through. A lot of people were surprised that he even weighed in on it in the first place because it was pretty niche legislation. So it seemed he was going out of his way to express an anti-crypto sentiment. And again, as you noted, so much of the industry saw this about face, and it seemed pegged to the timing of Trump announcing that he would accept crypto donations. Last week at the Libertarian National Convention in D.C., as you said, very bullish sentiment on crypto expressed there. And you got at this event RFK, who's been at virtually every single crypto event that I've gone to.
Just saw him outside here.
Yeah, very expressly pro-Bitcoin. And I bring this up again just because of the fact that a recent Harris poll showed that crypto is increasingly a big topic of interest for voters, and it matters to more than it has in past presidential election cycles. Do you think that this is something that could potentially move the needle, and that's why you're seeing this softening of stance by Biden and Trump really leaning in?
I think that's absolutely the basis for it. That seems to me the explanation of why we've seen this shift in attitude from the Biden administration. Like, we're not going to ignore it. We're going to look into it. We're going to call upon the crypto community and, at a minimum, start more conversations about it. So I think that softening in stance was rapid, but it's informative in terms of why it's happening.
Last question for you. So, Chief Compliance Officer, what keeps you up at night when you think about the crypto sector more broadly?
What keeps me up at night is just thinking about some of the enforcement actions about in our ecosystem, right? That can come after not just us, but one of the other businesses. And I want to make sure that that's directed towards where it should be. Like those, as I've said before, those energies and those enforcement actions, you do need that. It's an important aspect that a regulator has. But if it's overused, you end up creating scenarios where when you're a business trying to figure out how to do your business, you're having to pick through specific facts and circumstances unique to those enforcement actions in those cases, as opposed to looking at actual legislation, market structure legislation, and being able to look to that as your guideline, right? It's just so much more efficient to have the market structure legislation in place than to have to pick through enforcement actions or old case law, right? That just makes it much more expensive and puts a lot more in the gray area that just doesn't need to be in the gray area. Let's pull that out of the gray area and work at evolving our approach to crypto, because I think that's what would be so much better for all of us, not just us, but all the businesses that are in this space.
All right, shout out to CNBC for that. We got one more over here. This is Ripple's is it Brad Garlinghouse, is that his name? Crypto industry in the US dealing with hostile regulatory environment. Let's see what they got to say over here again on Crypto World CNBC television. Guys, that like button, appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
So we're here at Consensus on day one of the conference.
And she's crazy, changing her outfits super fast. No, I'm just kidding. I think it was like 2 or 3 days, and the interviews were like in between.
You announced that you're investing another $25 million into Fairshake. This is a pro-crypto PAC, and it's also on top of the $25 million that you gave them last year. Walk me through how you chose Fairshake and how this investment helps build towards your larger thesis.
Look, it's incredibly important that the U.S. is competitive when it comes to the policy and regulatory environment in all things crypto. That's not where we have been, unfortunately. We've really had a pretty hostile regulatory environment.
I'm going to bump this up as well. I don't know why he sounds like echoey. That's weird.
In lots and lots of ways. And instead of doing the work to provide clarity and clear rules of the road, we've actually, I think in some ways, the SEC under Gensler has sowed confusion by filing lawsuits that sometimes even contradict each other. So for me, supporting Fairshake even more and even signaling that we're going to continue to do this, it's really about getting people elected who are pro-crypto, pro-innovation, but also are focused on protecting consumers. We think by getting that right mix, we're really moving the whole agenda forward and catching up with what we've already seen in other economies around the world.
So later today, RFK will be speaking. He's at virtually every event I go to. Meanwhile, you had Trump speaking to the Libertarian National Convention this past weekend in D.C., saying very pro-crypto things. He's become more of the crypto candidate. Meanwhile, you've got Biden apparently softening his stance on crypto. At least that's a perception among those in the sector. It seems like crypto is more a part of the conversation than it's ever been before in this presidential election cycle. Any thoughts on that dynamic?
Well, Biden's kind of stuck, right? Like, regardless of how you feel about crypto, if you are against it, that's not going to help you. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's a magical time to be alive as part of my reaction to that. 10 years ago when I first really got deeply involved in crypto, I couldn't have predicted kind of what we're seeing today. But it's also, I feel like, the inevitable march of progress. These technologies can improve so many ways in which transactions are settled, more transparency, more, faster, cheaper. And so to me, it's that forward progress. The fact that we have what should have been a bipartisan, broadly supported technology, somehow it became partisan. I really attribute that. Elizabeth Warren in particular kind of stood out and spoke, I think, misinformation and saying well, everybody doing crypto is doing bad things. And just nothing can be further from the truth. There's so many examples even here at this conference of incredible entrepreneurs building incredible tools that can improve the efficiency of how financial transactions work. And look, some of our financial system was developed 50, 60 years ago. It's time to bring it into the internet age for the benefit of consumers, for the benefit of businesses. And to fight that progression, that inevitable march of progression, to fight that, I think, is just silly. So I do think seeing it become a presidential topic isn't that surprising to me. There's a lot of passion. I'm sure you felt it here as well. There's a lot of passionate people about this industry, and they will vote their mind. And I think that's important.
Well, and there are a lot of polls that are indicating just that crypto is increasingly an issue that they care about. Voters in swing states are expressing more of an interest in the digital asset sector than before. We're also seeing a lot of pro-crypto legislation wind its way through Congress. So SAB 121 a couple of weeks ago, FIT 21 passing the House last week, seeing more Democratic support for these laws. Stablecoin legislation, people are more bullish on that than they have been in past years. But do we see these things get to the finish line, signed into law by the end of the year? How optimistic are you?
You know, if you're asking me whether they get signed into law before the end of the year, I'm probably a little bit skeptical that it happens before the election. You know, as we all have seen, the wheels of legislative progress move slowly and carefully. So I'm thrilled by the progress that we made in the last even 3 weeks. And I think it may have been the most important 2 or 3 weeks in the U.S. crypto evolution ever. But I still think getting the legislation passed may require, you know, after the election, maybe before the end of the year, more likely the first half of next year. But again, I view this as very, very positive because the winds have changed in how the U.S. government is looking at this. And we haven't yet seen explicit decisions from the Biden administration, but you have seen, as you described earlier, a softening of some of the rhetoric coming out of this administration. And I think driven by the fact that people understand this is a topic people care deeply about, and frankly, the fact that it's become a little bit partisan. And in a very tight election, this could be a deciding factor.
Crypto KJ, thanks for putting this in the chat. Ted Cruz, the senator of from Texas over here, is into Bitcoin mining now. Let's see what did he get? Oh, I can't zoom in. Why can't I zoom in? S21s. That's an S21. I think. I can't really tell. I think it says S21, if I'm not mistaken. That's awesome, though. Good for him. That's crazy. Look at Blue Moon. It says only 3 rookie numbers. Buy 3 more. A couple Litecoin and Dogecoin miners to even it out. Blue Moon, that's hysterical.
As you said, the last few weeks have been pretty frenetic in terms of what's been going on in the crypto space. Last week, the SEC, many were surprised by the decision to make the rules change that was necessary to kind of pave the way for these spot Ether ETFs. What was your reaction?
Inevitable. You know, the SEC, I think, has been losing in the courts. They've been losing in the court of public opinion, and I think increasingly they're losing in politics. And so, you know, we certainly saw that happen with the Bitcoin ETF. They were kind of dragged kicking and screaming into the approval of the Bitcoin ETF because of court decisions. And so I think that they knew if they didn't support and approve the ETH ETF, that likely the same thing was going to happen. And so I think that's also a very positive thing. But you know, the SEC lost on Capitol Hill with the vote on SAB 121. They obviously lost in the Ripple case. You know, I think Gensler has, I think, had a misguided approach to how to regulate this industry, and he hasn't done the work that other countries around the world have done to provide that clarity, provide rules of the road and frameworks, whether it's UAE, Japan, UK, and we just haven't done that here in the United States.
Now, your ongoing fight with the SEC, it was largely billed as a win for Ripple over the SEC. It was a nuanced decision by the judge, so they said that XRP was not a token in the context of retail use. It was a different story for institutions. Where do things stand with that case right now?
So right now, what the courts ruled and the judge said very clearly is XRP in and of itself is not a security. That's everything to us. That was, you know, these are technologies that should be allowed to kind of breathe and thrive and grow. And to me, it's, again, the inevitable march of those technologies, the progress. The case between Ripple and the SEC, we feel like is largely resolved. Most of that went Ripple's way. There's one case that the judge decided when an institutional sales in something called an investment contract, because there's a contract around it, the contract could be a security. And it was deemed that those were unregistered security sales. And so we're in the final, like, let's say, half mile of that marathon. I think we'll see resolution hopefully this summer. You know, the SEC asked for $2 billion in fines. You know, my estimation is that'll be, you know, certainly in the millions, not the billions. And I think it's, again, just a misguided to even come out and ask for that when there's no accusation or certainly findings of reckless behavior, fraud, any of those things. You know, the other settlements that they've done have been represented like maybe 1 or 2% of what's been involved. And so it's just kind of posturing, in my opinion.
So you're getting into the business of stable coins. It's pretty crowded, $200 billion, the collective market cap, Tether, USDC, other players. Why now?
Well, look, I think if you look at where the market is going, well, you're right, it's somewhere between $150 and $200 billion today. I think forecasts are that it's going to be somewhere around $2 trillion to $3 trillion. So you know, that's growth of 10 to 20x where it is today. So that in of itself is kind of, those are fun markets to be in, that they're growing quickly. The second is I think there's likely to be some shifts in market share. Today, Tether is by far the dominant. The U.S. government, for better or for worse, we can debate, but the U.S. government has kind of expressed concerns about Tether and how it operates outside of the United States, representing a U.S. dollar. And I think the U.S. government has taken the position, well, if you represent a U.S. dollar, you need to be regulated by the United States. That isn't the case today, and I think there may be some shifts in how that market share. But look, overall, I think Tether will continue to grow. I think USDC will continue to grow. But I think there's a lot of room as that market grows for a Ripple-backed stablecoin.
And what does this mean?
Real quick, this is why I asked if you were on drugs in the chat, because these units go for $349, and you just offered it for $1,500 for one. Good stuff you got, buddy.
For XRP, do the two work in tandem, or does the stablecoin supplant XRP's utility?
We are 100% behind the growth and development of the XRP ledger and the health of that market and that ecosystem. We think having a stablecoin built on the XRP ledger actually adds liquidity to the XRP ledger. We already have been using stablecoins in our payment flows, so this is just kind of a natural extension. We'll continue to absolutely prioritize XRP, but there's times and places where our customers want to see US dollar to US dollar using a Ripple.
We should talk about this guy's shoes over here. Look at how bright yellow those are. Those are brighter than the signature solar sign.
Stablecoin, we think, makes sense in those flows.
And when you say your customers, are you thinking about retail? Are you thinking about banks? Are you thinking about, I mean, for a time, you owned 30% of MoneyGram, and you were very focused on international remittances. So who is the customer that you're looking at when you say that?
All of Ripple's customers are B2B. We focus on selling blockchain infrastructure into financial institutions. Some that's on custody, that's on payments. We'll continue to really focus on being the leading enterprise-focused blockchain company in the industry.
Do you want to go public?
That's a good question. My pause is, look, today, sitting here, Gary Gensler is the chair of the United States SEC. I'm not really popular inside the offices of the SEC, as you might imagine.
Well, the NYSE president was in that chair yesterday, and she said that she welcomed applicants from the crypto ecosystem, IPO markets heating back up.
Lynn Martin, I think, is a progressive example of where we should be. That's not where Gary Gensler is. And so the SEC has to approve an S1. Going public in the United States for Ripple right now, I don't think makes any sense. I think Coinbase, as a public company in the United States, probably regrets that decision. We've looked at, would we consider going public outside the United States? That, of course, is in the possibilities. Right now, it's just not on our immediate term agenda.
Last year at this time, I was talking to Coinbase about their Wells notice and legal fight with the SEC. It was a much different atmosphere with respect to crypto firms winding their way through bankruptcy court, a lot of criminal trials going on. It just feels like a lot has changed since then, and part of that's the spot Bitcoin ETF. But how optimistic are you, and how much do you feel that the industry has shifted? Like, is there more positivity? Are people more optimistic? Do they feel like the bad times of 2022 are firmly behind them?
Look, I think we're in a more realistic environment. To me, it's not about optimism versus pessimism, or realism. And look, one of the amazing things, and I say things like it's just a magical time to be alive. The crypto industry is somewhere around $2.5 trillion. That's despite the fact, all the headwinds you just described. That's despite the fact that key players have been toppled and some people are in jail. It's despite the fact that we've had all these problems. This, to me, the inevitability of these technologies and where crypto is headed remains absolute to me. And I think we're going to continue to see that growth. It helps that we have some of that, just cleared out and I guess clarified and resolved so that we can move forward. And frankly, one of the things I'm looking forward to the most, as we talked about earlier, is having that full closure with the SEC, that all of the allegations they made are resolved. We're clear with the court, and we can move forward without that overhang.
Do you guys think there's actually going to be an XRP ETF? What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the chat. All right, let's get into this. So this is over here with Altcoin Daily. Bitcoin right now is about to do something crazy. 3 prediction. This guy Brandon is super bullish on Bitcoin as a whole. I'm going to just jump forward to like here, and we're going to start this, and I'm going to speed it up actually as we do it to 1.2. Guys, appreciate you for hanging out. Hit that like button. Let's watch this because I haven't had a chance to. Let's do it.
Brandon Green of Bitcoin Magazine, or more precisely Bitcoin Conference, right now here to promote Bitcoin Nashville Conference, July 25th through 27th. Use code Altcoin Daily for 10% off tickets. Details below. Come hang out with both of us in Nashville. Brandon, Bitcoin's still less than $100,000 today. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, I can believe it, but I don't think it's going to be here much longer. I think, we're getting ready for the next leg up, and it's going to blast us straight through 100K.
Give me your best guess. Bitcoin hits 100K by the summer of 2024 or by the winter of 2024? Best guess. Nobody knows the future.
No one knows. I would say certainly by the end of 2024, but I think this summer, there could be some macro tailwinds that cause Bitcoin to just crash right through it pretty quickly.
Okay, well, let's jump into it. What is your Bitcoin investment thesis in 2024? Could you list every single big reason why you think Bitcoin's price is going up?
Wow, every single big reason. I mean, there's a ton. Let's start with a few of them. Okay, number one, I think crypto is finally being absorbed by Bitcoin. Okay, so Bitcoin, obviously, with ordinals, with Bitcoin native assets springing up, you got Taproot asset that's being built right now by Lightning Labs. There is nothing now that the rest of crypto can do that Bitcoin can't also do. And so, what I anticipate happening over the next months and years is the programmability of the Bitcoin network to rival that of Ethereum or Solana. And so that means that I think a lot of the market cap of those L1s will be absorbed back into Bitcoin. I think that's a huge trend and one that's really just started. Number two, I would say that like the monetary policy of the United States has been fascinating to watch as you look at this new cycle coming. There has been no easement of monetary policy. We're still in very tight conditions, and yet we're at all-time highs. And so if anything, the monetary policy of the United States is going to loosen over the next few months, especially heading into the presidential election. There will be pressure from the executive branch to, let's say, print more money and pump the stock market and make everyone feel rich again. And so that's going to affect Bitcoin in a major way, and it's going to pump it to crazy levels in and of itself. I would also say, it's interesting to watch these international Bitcoin hubs forming. Obviously, El Salvador is an interesting one to continue to watch. The UAE is a fascinating market. I know I saw you over in Dubai earlier this year. That's a country that is absolutely embracing Bitcoin and crypto very, very strongly. And I think that there's a lot of incentives for them to be major players in the market. And that comes along with major investment into Bitcoin. The next one, ETFs. So the ETFs are just starting to be felt in the Bitcoin price. We're just starting to see the first few disclosures of a couple of hedge funds all dipping their toes into Bitcoin just a little bit. We haven't even seen the rampant buying that you're going to see later in this cycle when people are FOMOing into Bitcoin. So think of that as kind of a table setting of what's to come later and just how high this market could get in this next cycle. And then, the last thing I would say is geopolitical ramifications around Bitcoin. US-China tensions are increasing. There are tons of countries around the world that are looking at Bitcoin in a geopolitical sense and trying to figure out what their currency policy should be in a world in which they can't really pick one side or the other between US and China, and treasury assets are much more fraught. So all of these trends are happening right now. It's a crazy moment for Bitcoin. And so I think that this year and next year are going to become, whereas right now it's almost like Bitcoin is succeeding in spite of the macro headwinds. Those headwinds are going to turn into tailwinds. And this is going to be maybe the craziest cycle we've ever seen in Bitcoin's history.
Interesting. Do you think that the, a large part of demand from these Bitcoin ETFs is still ahead of us? Because we've already seen much success in this catalyst that has already happened, the launch of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen estimates of let's say maybe 10 to 11 billion in net inflows into the ETFs when you count grayscale outflows plus inflows. It hits that number. So that's a low number. I mean, if you think about what the total addressable market is, I want to say RIAs in and of themselves could be $100 billion kind of inflow if they're allocating certain percentages. And so, that's just one example of inflows that haven't really taken off yet. Kathy Wood was on CNBC earlier this year talking about when are these institutions, these pension funds, these hedge funds, these kind of more, let's say, high inertia, difficult to move sort of groups that have massive amounts of money to invest, when are they going to move, right? And her answer was, not only are they going to wait to see how the ETFs shake out, they're also going to wait for the right investment thesis around getting into it. And they're going to have to decide which ETF to pick. And that in and of itself is actually a very involved decision. And so, it takes a while for some of these, massive ships to start steering into the direction of Bitcoin. Once that happens,
I didn't even think of that. They have to actually pick the company they want to invest in these ETFs with for their clients, right? These little companies per se. That's crazy.
These are not day traders. These are not, funds that are jumping in and jumping out and trying to flip a quick buck. This is going to be a pipe into Bitcoin, and that's going to be felt in short order. And as you get later in the cycle and there's fewer Bitcoin available because everyone's speculating to the upside, it's going to cause massive run-ups and massive bubbles because there's just so much money coming into the system right now.
Why haven't we seen more companies or people like Michael Saylor? Are there going to be more micro strategies putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a company that just announced out of Japan. I want to say this is less than a month ago. They're called MetaPlanet. And I would consider them to be the first official, MicroStrategy copycat. They are trying to do in the Japanese market what Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy have done in the US market. And honestly, it's a brilliant play. It's let's take a little bit of diversified, uncorrelated cash flow from a regular business and utilize that in order to get debt, to take out debt and buy Bitcoin with it. And these capital markets, especially in Japan, Japan's basically still in QE infinity. I mean, it's still almost free to borrow money in Japan. And so it is so easy to borrow at low rates, buy Bitcoin with it, and then later use the appreciation against the Japanese yen to pay off the debt. And so I think there's going to be maybe one major MicroStrategy copycat in every market, every currency market. You know, it's not the first one that really causes the waterfall. It's the second one. It's the one that kind of validates the first one's thesis and induces the FOMO as everyone sees the copycats coming. So Metaplanet is like a major shot around the world, in my opinion. And I think we're going to see many more of those companies springing up over the next year.
And then we're seeing so many businessmen or like companies like Metaplanet or MicroStrategy or even like, you know, funds like Larry Fink and Cathie Wood. It seems to me that probably people like that, I would just assume, changed Donald Trump's mind. I just, you know, bring up the fact that this is the first time that in a presidential election, a candidate, a former president says, I'm a big Bitcoin crypto believer. And it seems to be like a real issue. Give me your thoughts on the fact that Bitcoin is in the atmosphere for this presidential election.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that I've been having conversations behind the scenes. We don't have to get into that right now, but Bitcoin is going to be a major theme of this upcoming presidential election. And one thing of note, like an interesting fact that, let's say, has caught the eye of the Donald Trump campaign especially, was that the crypto industry in 2020 voted 60-40 in favor of Biden. And what has happened since then has been 4 years of hostile administration towards our industry. And so that is very much a voter base that is there for the taking if you were to present a more positive and a more collaborative administration. And so, you know, any candidate is going to be receptive to that feedback. I think that's why you've seen RFK early on be very bold in embracing Bitcoin and crypto. And, you know, I think that you also have to look at the amount of Americans that own Bitcoin. It's greater than 50 million, getting to 100 million. I was talking to a policy person from the industry earlier yesterday, and he said that there was a poll that they had found that was either 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 voters in swing states said that Bitcoin and crypto would help decide which candidate they would vote for. Okay, that is inignorable data. You cannot ignore that as a candidate. And so it is absolutely going to be a sledgehammer to some of this hurtful and harmful policy that we've seen over the past 4 years. Like, that's going to melt away in quick order. And you can already see that with the SEC changing its tune on the ETH ETF. I think that's a massive moment for, you know, ETH especially. They're clearly getting pressured to melt away. So yeah, like this is the beginning of a massive trend. And I think that instead of the US being a hostile administration to Bitcoin and crypto, it's about to just run in reverse really hard.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was big unknown. Would they approve a spot Ethereum ETF, or just how are they going to treat crypto? And it seems like the fact that they're treating crypto okay, that'd be good for Bitcoin, I would assume.
I take the Bitcoiner lens on this. You know, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin winning via state action and regulatory burden. Like, I want these ideas to compete in the free market. And so I'm a strong believer that Bitcoin, you know, I said this in my earlier statement about like, what are the macro tailwinds for Bitcoin? One of them is that I believe that Bitcoin is going to get a larger market share of the entire crypto market over this next cycle. Like, I think that Bitcoin will outcompete these other layer ones, but I don't want Bitcoin to outcompete them because a hostile regulatory regime is preventing people from interacting with decentralized open systems. I want it to outcompete these other L1s because it's a better system. It's more robust. It's harder to censor. It's harder to attack, and it's a better user experience, and there's cool ideas being built on it. So that's why I see Bitcoin outcompeting. And so seeing some of that regulatory burden and overhang go away is ultimately bullish for Bitcoin because it's bullish for the entire industry.
So let's talk about cycle Bitcoin price predictions. Brandon, I want to hear your base case for Bitcoin in the context of this cycle, either end of this year, sometime throughout 2025, or maybe very beginning of 2026. This is what we're talking about when I say the cycle. This is the time frame. What is your like low case? Like, I mean, Bitcoin at least gets to this minimum. What is is that the base case? What is your mid case? And then what is your bull case?
Yeah. Okay. So
things are about to get crazy. This guy usually has like crazy high predictions.
I'm known as being quite the bull, but I'm generally right. Okay. You know, let me just say, I don't miss these bold predictions by too much. What you've seen over the past few cycles in Bitcoin is a 100x from the bottom. Okay. The one major exception was this past cycle. I think if you look at this past cycle, there was too much funny business happening when it came time for the true blow off top. you had China banning Bitcoin, you had Elon flipping on the market, and then you had massive amounts of credit in the system. And, you know, what turned out to be like a fake supply created by FTX and Alameda that were basically running a Ponzi on Bitcoin, you know, and creating circulation credit that was never going to be resolved. And so what I think happened is we got cheated out of a true bull run in this past cycle. So could it have been another 100x from the bottom? That would have required it to go to like a 350K price per Bitcoin as a cycle top. Maybe that would have happened. Hard to say, hard to say. But if we were going to take a 100x from the bottom of this cycle, well, the bottom was 15,500, I believe, in November of 2022. And so 100x would be $1.5 million per Bitcoin. Let me put that as like the top case. You know, that's the bull case. But I think it's definitely on the table. I mean, dude, BlackRock has a Bitcoin ETF. You know, like there's nothing that can get too crazy at this point in terms of money coming into Bitcoin. I would say,
yeah, this guy's on crack. It's not going to go that high that fast, but I mean, eventually, yeah, that could happen.
My base case, like what I would hope to see is I want Bitcoin to eclipse gold market cap. And that happens at roughly a $650,000 per Bitcoin price. And so, you know, I would hope to see that. Like that would be my this is what I think is going to happen. This is my base case.
That's crazy.
And then for a bear case, if we really just don't see the liftoff and we have to like truly change the way in which we look at how Bitcoin is adopted and the Bitcoin price is affected during a cycle, I would say a top around like 250 to 350K would be like, okay, you know, we had some liftoff, but we didn't get to what I think we could have accomplished, which is to eclipse gold. So that would be my bear case. Still a solid 4-ish X from here, you know, plenty of room to run, but man, I'm going to be disappointed if that's all we do.
Do you think it's crazy if somebody thinks you're crazy for that being your bear case? If somebody goes 250K is your bear case, you must be crazy. Like, what would you say to that person?
I'm thinking like $125. What do you guys think? What do you think Bitcoin's going to get to this cycle? Like the highest peak? What do you guys think?
I would say you haven't been paying attention. Like we're not here for linear returns and, you know, great
sustainable 85. Really? You think it's only going to get to 85?
Investment, pat on your back. You know, you managed to make a little money this cycle. We're here for a revolution. And that means Bitcoin absorbing and reconstructing the financial system, period. And in order to do that, in order to absorb the global financial system, we got to go much higher than this. So buckle up. That's what we're here for. That's the mission. And that means that we've got some craziness left to ride through. Can't wait.
We see 180K. Crypto Craig says 1.5 million. 150K. Yeah, that's. I'm thinking like 120, a little bit more maybe. But again, it depends like what everybody's saying, right? It usually gets to like 70% of what everybody's like calling for, right? But yeah, I don't know.
I appreciate that, man. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to link your stuff below and link Bitcoin Nashville, July 25th through 27th below. Hopefully people are hanging out with us there. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience about yourself, what you're doing, Bitcoin Nashville, whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we throw, I think, the best party in Bitcoin, maybe in all of crypto. Certainly, we've got the biggest event in the world happening in Nashville. And so if you are interested in Bitcoin, if you're interested in crypto, we're going to convince you to be more interested in Bitcoin, you know, if you come to our event. So just prepare for that. But we focus on Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is king, and that's why. This is going to be an event you cannot miss. We are attempting to make history with this event.
Is anybody
there are
going
things
to that?
You know, maybe we were talking about a little bit before the show that I can't say yet publicly, but we're shooting for the moon in terms of what we think we can accomplish at Bitcoin 2024. So come be part.
Well, let me know if you guys are going there. We're going to recap some stuff because he's just chilling this rest of the time. But anyway, shout out to Altcoin Daily for that interview. It's pretty good. The guy's usually super bullish. I think that's a bit unrealistic this cycle, but I'm not gonna say a bit. I think it's a lot unrealistic. But real quick, Nerd Beast says the top was 73K. Get out of here. You do not think that. You do not think that we're already done with this bull run, do you? Man, you are in for a ride, Nerd Beast. You're in for a ride. That would be miserable. Look at BNB. BNB is killing it right now. $635. Up 5.8% on the day. Caspa is almost, it is at 15 cents. Oh, snap.
Perfect.
Look at that. 8.38% max. Make sure you screenshot this. We're looking good right here. Again, I fill in for DJ because he's not around. Bitcoin's almost to 70K again. 69,731. We got Ethereum at 3837. We have Solana $166. Everything is looking better than it was in May. You guys know the sentiment, sell in May and go away. And it seems like things are starting to turn around, which is nice. Let's see, biggest earner on the day as of now. Look at Caspis creeping up, but Floki is in first place, 11.9. And then we have Not over here at 10.1. And we have Caspa at 8.6. Oh, ENA actually is at 9.2 as well. So couple big earners on the day, which is pretty nice to see. Again, Flashbang Fear and Greed Index is at a 73. Let's see, Dynex at 56 cents, but everything's looking pretty good, guys. Cardano is in 11th place now. Toncoin just took it. Look at that. We are going to be fighting back and forth between these two. Interesting. I wonder what's going to happen with Cardano. I think it's going to do well, but I guess we'll have to see. Only time will tell. All right, guys, listen, I got to get back to daddy duty, as you can see. Kids are back there causing a ruckus, but hopefully you guys have a safe and happy Monday. We're gonna go raid Miss Randy Hipper. She's gonna be live in like 5 minutes, so hopefully you guys have a great day. I'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a good one and peace out.
Perfect.
Eat shit.